When is Kanye dropping his new album, Ye Dolla Sign, together with Ty Dolla Sign? So I shouldn't just say Kanye, but today I want to take a closer look at the best clues, the best evidence that we have as of right now for this thing dropping maybe not even this year. We're gonna talk about it. Also, there are some news from people visiting Ye in Saudi Arabia and him recording the album, so we'll take a look at those first, the news, and then we'll talk about when this will drop. So let's jump straight into this. If you want to stay up to date with everything surrounding hip-hop, make sure to subscribe and also become a part of this community by joining our Discord server in the description. Real quick, if you don't want to listen to this, make sure to skip 10 seconds into the future, but you can now sign up for my free newsletter with the first link in the description. It comes every Sunday and it details everything that's been happening in hip-hop over the past week, so make sure to do that. So let's start out with a couple of news regarding people arriving in Saudi Arabia to work on this album, because that is the interesting part. Who's going to be on there? It kind of feels like Donda back in 2021 when we were getting like new features, new confirmations every week. But we'll start out with actually not, some new features, but a story from Ty Dolla Sign where he put as music Kitsy Ghosts, which is kind of ironic because now he's the one doing a collab album with Kanye. But he posted a picture of a plane, and then he posted the YS or the yen and dollar sign symbols in the middle of the screen. They are pretty big there, so we know that he's referencing that. Another story from him was just from the desert, and we know that Kanye's in the desert right now. I've showed y'all the pictures last video, and he's working on the album in the desert, so that means that Ty Dolla Sign has finally now also arrived. We'll talk about where he was so far, or where he kind of went from Saudi Arabia later on when we're talking about when this is going to drop, but we now know that Ty Dolla Sign is also there. Another story from someone was Lil Durk, because he also posted a story of him being in Saudi Arabia and also posting a goat next to it with a resort, a picture of a hotel room, whatever, that looks similar to what we've been seeing Kanye being accommodated in Saudi Arabia. And if any rapper right now posts that they're in Saudi Arabia, we can kind of pretty surely say that they're working on Kanye's album. Why else would you go to Saudi Arabia? We had Lil Baby in the last one too. And the last thing that I wanted to get into is another picture of the village, of the little scene that Kanye was seen at, no pun intended. And we can see that they actually set up a studio right there. So it's not just him chilling in the desert, also no pun intended there, but actually him working on music in the desert. And people are pointing out that on the laptop, if you take a really close look, there's a Lil Uzi Vert sticker. That shouldn't mean anything though, but it's kind of weird, but they're working on the album in the desert. So now that we've gotten the news out of the way that's been happening over the past 2 days, ever since the last video, now we're going to be talking about when this will actually drop. So there are two main things that we can base any sort of theory of this on. The first thing, and both of them are from Ty Dolla Sign. The first thing, obviously, y'all probably can't see it anymore, me neither, it just gives me a bad mood, but the actual initial announcement from Ty Dolla Sign of the November 3rd multi-stadium listening party, or the multi-stadium listening event. And this came in the week of November 3rd, and we thought then that November 3rd being a Friday, that would be the Friday that we were at least gonna get some sort of show, some sort of listening party. We had the RCF Arena in the conversation for a location, a venue to be held at, and then we thought that this was gonna be different stadiums or different events on different occasions. And I've always compared this to Donda, so Donda being the rollout of doing many different listening events, really epic ones, and always revealing new mastered versions of the songs, always revealing new featured artists, and doing that over a course of multiple weeks, and not just doing a couple of stadiums in a day, because that would be logistically impossible. Well, we all waited for November 3rd then, but nothing came on November 3rd. Obviously, it also being a Friday, we thought it was going to drop that day. But after that, there wasn't a whole lot of news until Ty Dolla Sign was recently featured at a show where he said that he just landed from a flight from Saudi Arabia. So that's why I said that it was pretty interesting that he posted a picture of a plane with the YS symbol on there. I would say YS, that's like, YSL, but I mean, yen dollar sign. I mean, Ye dollar sign, whatever you call it, man. And he said that he just came from Saudi Arabia and he was working on his new album together with his brother Ye, and that is coming out real soon, or pretty soon, or whatever his rhetoric was there. So we can kind of see that as the only thing that we have when it comes to any sort of release date confirmation. Now, as I said, it's pretty weird that they announced November 3rd and nothing came, this usual Kanye fashion. And the fact that he's still working on the album in the desert is also not a good sign when it comes to completing a record, even though Kanye is known for and infamous for changing the record up last minute until the actual album drops. But what I mainly wanted to say is that if this album does drop in 2023, I believe it's not going to be November. I believe it's going to be December, maybe even late December, because we went over this in the past couple of videos as well, because you need to have some sort of preparation for those multi-stadium listening events, because you're going to have to put up sales for the tickets, and people need to buy those tickets and then get plane tickets to go to wherever the show is at, and you need to organize all the different stadiums. So this is going to take time. I believe they're working hard at it, but if they're still also working on the music, that's going to take some time. And also, if it actually does turn out to be the way that I think it's going to be, which is that they're going to have different listening parties on different, occasions, on different Fridays or different weeks or whatever, then that would mean that we have a couple of weeks of kind of like preparation of listening events until the actual album drops. I think in the case of Donda, it was around a month. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the first one was still in July and we got Donda on August 30th or 31st, something like that. So if it's the same way, we have at least a month of listening parties that we got to get out of the way first, not to get them out of the way. They're actually the most enjoyable part about the whole experience. And I would die for this to be the same way again, because just imagine the sort of material and lore we would be getting about this album and what we could be covering in videos, just hyping ourselves up for the actual album to then drop. So make sure you stay subscribed if that happens, not to miss out on that, because that's going to be epic for the community and for Kanye fans. So if that actually turns out the way that I think it will, it's going to take some weeks before we actually get the album. But before it's going to take some weeks, we got to get the first announcement. We got to get the first listening party. And if that doesn't happen within the next 2 weeks, I don't see this dropping in 2023. And I know that sounds a little bit bleak. That sounds like, okay, this year, no new Kanye album, we gotta wait till next year. But I don't think that this is actually too bad. We've waited for so long now that if it is actually gonna take that long, and if in the process we're gonna be getting that many shows, that many amazing experiences as fans, as a community together, I think then it's completely worth it. I think if this album comes out early 2024, first quarter 2024, I'll be happy. I think that's the most realistic way that this is actually gonna work. And I know they announced it for November, but Kanye often announces stuff and then it never comes true. So at this point, I'm convinced, also maybe it's copism not to make myself, believe something and then be disappointed that it doesn't happen, but I'm saying early January 2024. And up until then, we're gonna get a lot of, rollout, a lot of hype, a lot of listening events that are definitely gonna be amazing to cover and watch and just get hyped up together. Now, this is solely my impression of covering this rollout over the past couple of months, but I kind of feel like I've gotten a pretty good feeling of what to be taken more seriously and what's just kind of like a little hint and how this is actually going to play out. But let me know what y'all think definitely in the comments, because this is a very interesting discussion to have. So let me know when you think this album will actually drop and if it's going to be this year. So all your thoughts on this, please let me know in the comments down below. If you watched this video to the end and liked it, and you want to stay up to date with all current hip-hop events and releases, make sure to subscribe, turn on notifications, hit that like button, and go follow my social media, and most importantly, join my Discord in the description. Until the next one, you'll have an incredible day, and y'all take care.